This year's AFL Grand Final parade, the first since 2019, has been branded the biggest fizzer ever. Many supporters were unimpressed with the new format. Players were floated along the Yarra on pontoons rather than driven through the city. However, it hasn't dampened the Grand Final fever. Thousands of fans flocked to the MCG to cheer on their teams and get a glimpse of the all-important silverware.
Let's go, Swanee!
Of course, a win. Of course.
Obviously.
Yeah, a win. Yeah.
Go Cats!
To see Cam Cats.
Go Swannies!
We love the passion, and I chatted to Kieran Jack, a former Premiership Sydney Swan, a little earlier about how the big dance is shaping up. The one, the only, Kieran Jack, fresh off the plane. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Georgie. Yeah, it's straight off the plane. I'm staying in Collingwood, so when I booked this last week, I was either very brave or very stupid. So,
Well, what is it like in Sydney at the moment? Because traditionally, it's rugby league territory. So what is it like when the Swans are in the grand final?
it's the town's buzzing, right? Like it's, I think, like AFL has. It's taken a long time to get into the spirit of Sydney Siders, but I think just due to the success of the club over a long period now, like red and white is everywhere. And I spoke to Callum Mills last year during the week, who got ushered out of a cafe, got cheered out of a cafe, right? So like it just, the anonymity of players in Sydney, it's probably no longer there. Like people are very familiar with it, and it's fantastic, right? You know, we had 45,000 packed house in the prelim, all red and white. And there's plenty of red and white already down here. I saw plenty on the plane, so it's fantastic.
I want to focus on one member of the Swans in particular, Buddy Franklin. You played a lot of football with him. What do you think he's picked up from your game that has led him on this trajectory to being one of the GOATs?
But I mean, Bud, when he arrived in, in 2014, he was very keen to learn about the Bloods culture and learn about the history of the club, and he bought in from day one. So it's a credit to him after his success at Hawthorn, and then to go on for, it's been 9 years now. So look, credit to him. He's one of the most competitive people I see. Success truly drives him, and probably why I wanted to go on again next year, because he can see the list in front of him, and I dare say that next year that they should be up there again.
Hey, I'm not sure if you saw before you got on the plane this morning, vision of the grand final parade going down the Yarra River. It's been a bit divisive. What did you remember about your own parades, and what did you see of this morning's one?
I did see that before I took off on Twitter, I think. Yes, strange way to do it. I don't know if it's COVID related or what, but I mean, the Yarra's it's iconic in Melbourne, I guess. But yeah, I think it's an interesting way of doing it. It's a weird setup for players in the grand final, because you arrive early. You've got to do the parade. There's lots of media opportunities, so it's not a normal setup. I think from probably now onwards, the team will get back into the hotel and look to bunker down, and routines will take over.
Before you go, Kieran, I've got to get your tip for the grand final and who's going to win the Norm Smith medal, and an approximate guess of just how many beers deep you'll be if the Swans are in front at the end of the full-time siren.
Well, I won't answer that last question, but I will say I think it's going to be a great grand final. I think this could be a classic, really. I think it's going to be less than sort of 10 points either side. I certainly hope the Swans will get up, and I think in terms of Norm Smith, I'd probably go along the lines of a Callum Mills, someone inside the ball where plenty of action. He's had a great year, first year as captain, All-Australian. I think he can cap it off with the Norm Smith.
Kieran Jack, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck.
Thank you, Georgie.
The fever, it's in the air.
You were
But it
fangirling,
wasn't on the river, the fever, was it? It was like a pontoon with blokes sitting on it going... it was just, and what gets me about it is they couldn't even go very far, and then they had to turn around and come back again.
It feels like something you should give to the wooden spooners. Like, you've done wrong. This is the sale of shame. But it's always exciting, especially for me as a Geelong fan. One of my first footy memories is the '89 grand final against Hawthorn. Unfortunately, we lost, but that's the first time I saw grown men cry, unfortunately, Ray. But Ray, I wanted to ask you, because a little birdie did tell me that your alliances in AFL kind of drift around a little bit?
Well, I went to school in Tassie, and
I'm so sorry.
I know. I got rid of the third eye; that disappeared. But we love St Kilda because Daryl Baldock and Ian Stewart and those great players from Tassie played for St Kilda. So I was a St Kilda fan then, and then I moved to Sydney and became a Swans fan. And when I worked on Midday, the floor manager was a Hawthorn bloke, so I became a Hawks fan. And now my best friends are Collingwood supporters, so I'm available. I'm A for available.
Yeah. Who are you going for tomorrow?
After the Swans. It's all about Buddy tomorrow. And you mentioned the parade. Does that mean COVID's now officially over?
I think yes. Like, I
we
know
over
that
that?
the scenes probably weren't just as, extravagant as we were hoping for, but I do think that it does represent a healing point for Victoria, that we can get back to the G.
Oh, it's so great.
We need
it's
your
so
voice
great
again.
having the game. But I was actually I barracked for St Kilda, and I was actually at the only premiership they've ever won.
Thank God
in
you went.
1966.
Thank God you went.
And I'm not making that up.
With the Tassie players?
I was 45 in 1960. No, I was 11. I was 11. I was there. We won by a point, and I didn't really watch the game. I chatted to my little girlfriend from school, the whole thing.
But you're there, and that's the most important part, mate.